This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, it got started. So see here, yesterday we have discussed on the classes concept, but I told you that we will discuss more on that today, starting from today. Okay, so we have created one class called arithmetic operations. Okay, so if you create a class, it will not have any main method inside it. This is not a runnable class. This is just an ordinary class. Okay, this is just an ordinary class, and the class will have two different views for it. Okay, in Dynamics 365, a class will have two different views. One view we will call it as code view. Whatever the view that you are seeing on the screen now is called code view, and the second one is called designer view. If you right click, you can see open designer. You can open the designer view, and in this designer view, it will just list down what are the methods in it, what are the delegates in it, what are the events in it, and everything it is going to list down here. Okay, now if I right click on the designer view on the class, you can see there is a button called override, and in this override you can see there are only two methods. Okay, so by default any class you have, that will be derived from object. Object is the parent of all classes in any object oriented programming language. Okay, so what you can do is you can assign any class to the object directly. So here you can see there are two methods in the override. One is new, and the second one is called finalize. Okay, as the name indicates, new is called constructor. What is new? New is called constructor. What is constructor? Let's say when you're using a class, and if you want to initialize that class with any value, okay, because I told you that class will be having the data and method. So now these two are the methods. Let's assume, what about data? Let me create two variables. Let me call it as int sum or int a comma b. Okay, I'm creating two variables called a and b. Okay, now you can see these are the two variables that we have created, a and b. So here you have, what do you have? You have the data and then methods. Okay, so here again, these variables and methods are divided into different types. Okay, these variables and methods are again divided into different types. Okay, so namely, when I come to the variables, okay, first of all, let's come to the variables. Coming to the variables, these variables are divided into first one called global variables. What are those? Global variables. So what are global variables? Global variables are the one which are accessible to the entire class. Now you can see I have defined int a comma b. Now a comma b are two variables, and these two variables can be accessed in the entire class. In all the methods of the class, you can access them. So we will call them as global variables. There are second type of variables called local variables. So what are local variables? The local variables, if I go to some class that we have created, okay, let me go to this composite data types. So what we have done, inside the method I have created a variable. Okay, this is a array type, this is a container type. So I have created inside the method. So what will happen? The scope of this variable only up to this method. Is that right? The scope of the variable is only up to this method. So we will call them as local variables. And along with these two, there are one more type of variables called static variables. So what are static variables? For example, if you want to define the static variable, what we will do generally, we will write static int a comma b. Okay, so these are called static variables. Okay, so this is how we can work with the variables, but let's see how these different types of variables will work, because by default I have not given anything here. Okay, I am just creating int a comma b. If you create like this, these variables are called instance variables. These variables are called instance variables, and you can see there is a method public void new. Okay, So this is a constructor, and public void finalize. This is called destructor. Okay. Now let's say if I want to initialize the variables int a comma b, there are different ways of initializing them. Okay. From that, first way is I have a constructor here. In this constructor, I can use the parameter profile. I can use int underscore a comma int underscore b. Please remember, I am using underscore a and underscore b. Why? Because whenever you have the form parameter, oh sorry, the method parameters, that should never get modified in the code. So I want to differentiate those parameters from the parameters that from the variables that create in the method, from the variables that are global. I want to differentiate them. So to differentiate them, what we need to do? We need to use some prefix. That prefix is underscore. Now here what I can do is I can simply say a equal to underscore a, and then I can use b equal to underscore b. Now I have assigned two values to them. Good. This is how I can assign values to the variables. This is the first way. The second way, and the most popular way, okay? The most popular way preferred by the programming languages. In case of C sharp, we will call them as properties. Whereas coming to Dynamics AX, Dynamics AX, either 2012 or Dynamics 365, we will call them as paramethods. Whatever we need to do is we need to create a method. When we are creating a method, first of all, you need to use the specifier, which indicates whether you are using this method everywhere or whether you are using this method only at few places. That means whether you want to inherit or how you want to use it. To do that, we have different specifiers: public, private, and protected. I will explain you in detail about them. Okay. Currently, I am taking public. Public means it's just like public telephone booth. It is accessible for everyone. Okay. Next. So here I am using public, and then I want to return some integer. Okay, because I want to add two variables. I am creating a method for addition. And then what I can, oh sorry, no, we are discussing on parameters. Okay, I am using the integer, and then here I want to use parameter method, and I want to call it as param a. And here inside the parameter profile, I need to define underscore a equal to a. Okay, and here I need to write a equal to underscore a, and then I will return. Yeah. Okay. Now you will get it out. Oh, why you have used equal to a? Okay. So these are called optional parameters. I am using underscore a equal to a. This is called optional parameter. If I pass the value, if I pass the value, it will take whatever the value that I have passed. If I do not pass the value, what will happen? It will return whatever is inside a. Got it? If I pass the value, If I pass the value, it will take the value and then assign it to a. If I don't pass the value, it will return whatever you have previously assigned. That is a param method. Okay, we will call this as getter and setter as well. If you want to get, don't pass the value. If you want to set, pass the value. Got it? Similarly, I need to create one more param method. Public int param b, and then I need to write int underscore b equal to b, and then b equal to underscore b. Here what I need to do? I need to simply say return b. So this is how we will write the param methods. Okay. So this is the second way of initialization. Okay. This is the second way of initializing the variables. Okay. Now you may get it out. Okay. Int a and b. Can I assign directly by using the class? Okay. Now let's see. Let's see how does this work. Okay. First of all, we will see that and then we will move forward. Let me create one more runnable class. Why I'm creating runnable class now? Because this class does not have a main method, but I need to execute them. If I need to execute them, I need to run them. To run them, I need a runnable class. Okay, with main method. Now you might get one more doubt. Okay, I will add a main method here. Can I execute directly? Yeah, you can do that. But I don't want to do that because I want to explain you how the classes will work. I want to instantiate and show you how they are working. Okay, so let me create Amazon test classes. Click on the add button. Okay. Okay. Now you can see the main method here. So we have created a class called AMA, arithmetic operations, and I will call this as arithmetic object equal to new AMA arithmetic operations. If I open the bracket, you can see it is expecting int underscore a comma underscore b. Okay. So by default, there is no need of passing any values to the constructor. Okay. But what we have done, we have overridden the constructor and we have passed two parameters. We have added two parameters to it. By default, there is no need of adding any parameters to it. But here, I want to pass the parameters to the constructor. I want to show you how to pass parameters to the constructor, which is why I have done this. Okay. Now, let me pass some two values 10, 20. As I told you, this is the first way of assigning values to the variables. Now, let me check using this arithmetic object, what are accessible to this. Okay. Let me put dot. Check variable a. Is it accessible? Oh, I can't see a and b here. I can see two methods, param a and param b. If you want to assign a and b, this is the second way. Okay, this is the second way. If you want to assign the variables a and b, this is the second way. The first way, you can use the constructor and then you can add the variables to it. The second way, you can create a param methods and then you can assign values to it. Okay. If you feel it is confusing, I will do one thing. Okay. What I will do is I will go to this arithmetic operations and then I will write two more parameters int c comma d, and then here instead of initializing a comma b, I will initialize c comma d because the values will get modified. Okay. The values will get modified. Okay. So this will be clear. If I write like this, it will be clear. Okay. Now this is the second way. Is there any other way to initialize the variables? Yeah, it's there. Few of the times, what we will do is here, if I use directly int, the variables are private in nature. The variables are private in nature. Okay. What is private? It's like your mobile phone. It's like your mobile phone. So will you give your mobile phone for us, for everyone to check what is the data in it, what are the contacts in it, and what are the videos you have stored, everything? To check that, will you give your mobile phone? No. Is that right? You're not going to give that. This is similar. The variables. If you want to keep the variables safe, then we will make it private. So what is the benefit of making them private? The variables are accessible only to that particular class. Outside of that class, the variables are not accessible. Okay, this is all for security here. This is all for security. Okay, so this is about private. So this two are by default. If I don't give anything, they will be private. So I'm not giving anything now. And then what I will do is I want to create two more variables: public int e comma f. Okay, I have used public int e comma f. Now what I will do is I will go to the test classes. I will use earth object dot, can you say yay? Because we made it public. Public means public telephone booth, accessible to everyone. Okay. Earth object dot e equal to some 50, and then earth object dot f equal to some, sorry, here I need to add the value. Give me a second. 50 f equal to 60, and then add the semicolon. Done. This is how you can initialize. These are the three ways with which you can initialize the global variables. But what is the common thing? Instantiation. What is instantiation? Instantiation means now we have created a class. I have created 6 variables and few methods. We need to allocate the memory. Okay. This class, the data and methods. Okay, for this data and methods, we need to allocate the memory. To allocate that memory, we will do an operation called instantiation. That instantiation will be done using the constructor. The constructor is used to instantiate the class. Okay, when you instantiate the class, the object of that class will get created. Unless and until you do the instantiation, the object will not get created and you will get null reference exception. You will get null reference exception. So whatever we need to do is we need to instantiate the class. Okay, now let's see how this is working. I want to set this as a startup object, the test classes, and then we will see how this is working. Okay, and then we will move forward. Now let me add the breakpoint. I want to add the breakpoint here. I want to add the breakpoint here. I want to add the breakpoint because once the class is finished, generally destructor will get called. Okay, I told you about lazy binding in AOS. Let's see whether it is lazy binding or not. Okay, because you will get to know how it works. Okay, because the destructor should get called here. So I will do one more thing. I will write an info message because otherwise you might think, oh, this is not getting called. So I will write info message and then I will say destructor called. And this is the param method, and this is the param method. So done. Okay, now I am running. Let's wait for a minute, let it load.
Hello.
Please go ahead.
Why do we need to set so many breakpoints? Can't we set only one breakpoint and then press F10? Is there
So
any
see here,
difference?
I will tell you why I have said. First of all, you can see new here, new AMA arithmetic operations. So for constructor, if you do not set the breakpoint, it will not get hit. Okay, whereas for param methods, there is no need of adding the breakpoint. Okay, for param methods, there is no need of setting the breakpoints, but actually I want to show you. Okay, that is why I have added the breakpoint, nothing other than that. But for constructor, you should add the breakpoint, otherwise it will not get hit. Got it? For the sake of easiness, I am adding that many breakpoints. Okay, otherwise what you can do is you need to add one breakpoint at constructor and one breakpoint here. That will be enough. Now I think we got it. Now I am pressing F11. It went into constructor and the values got assigned. C equal to underscore D. Done. Now this went to para method. The values of A and B will get assigned. Okay. Now let me go to autos. Just a second. Let me expand this. Now you can see. Oh, I have done one small thing here. Here it should be D. I put it C. Okay. Now the value of B got assigned. Now you can see again if I press F11, now it will not go inside. The value of E, the value of F will get assigned. Okay. Now here you can see the arithmetic object and then the values are assigned 25, 30, 20, 10, 50, 60. Okay. So these are the different ways with which you can assign the variables. Okay. The values to the variables. Okay. Now this is the first part. Well and good. Now if you see here, the finalize did not get called. Okay. The finalize will not get called because as I told you, it's due to the effect of lazy binding. Okay. So what will happen is when the AOS is free, then it will do the garbage collection, then it will do the garbage collection, and then it will release the memory. This is how it happens. Okay. Now, in the meantime, few of the times people used to ask me one more question. Okay, if I want to release the garbage immediately, what to do? Okay, let's see that. Okay, let's see that. Now you can see here. Finalize we should call explicitly. Just a second. I think someone from you have pinged. Before starting a new concept, if we get some theory part of it, it will be great. Hey, who is this here?
This is Mohammed.
Yeah, Mohammed. Some theory part of it means, because what I'm doing is I'm doing the same thing, because first of all I will explain what is that and then I will go here. I did not
No,
get your question exactly what you need.
actually, what is the advantage of using this or disadvantage or like what will the practical use of in day-to-day work?
That it will take time, because what I will do is first of all I will explain you the concept. Next time I'm going there itself, because
Yes, yes.
next I will come up with the best practice. Okay, you need to wait. Okay, yeah.
Okay, if you are
Now
going
you
to
can
use
see
it
here.
later,
Yeah.
then it's okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
If you see here, what I have done, I have used the new. New means it's a constructor. So whenever you're working in Dynamics 365 or any programming language, directly instantiating, making the constructor the new public is a bad practice. So whatever we need to do is we need to make this either protected or private. Okay. So if you want to use this in the child classes, if you want to use this in the child classes, okay, then we need to make it protected. Okay. Or this is the only class and you're not going to use it anywhere else, then you need to make it private. Okay. Oh, then you will get it out. Then how to instantiate the class? So whatever we need to do is we need to create one more method here, and then that should be a static method. Okay, public static, and then you need to use the same class name AMA arithmetic operations, and we need to create a construct method. Whatever we need to do is we need to create a construct method. Oh, it will not allow me to copy. Okay, all right. Okay, int underscore c comma int underscore d. Okay, so this is how we need to create a construct method. And then if I go to test classes, I have this new here. Let me cut this, and then here you need to use return and then instantiate this. Okay, so what is the benefit of this? What is the benefit of this? The benefit is the constructor is never exposed. Okay, the constructor is never, whatever the class you are using and whatever the methods you are using, they will not get exposed. Okay, so whenever you are working with the class, whenever you are writing the methods, the first thing you need to keep in mind is whether you are going to use that method everywhere, that means in other classes, or whether that method is specific to that particular class. If that method is specific to that particular class, then you need to use private. Okay, because there are three different types of specifiers. Okay, what are those? First one is private, second one is protected, third one is public. So what is private? Private means it is just like your mobile phone. Yeah, it is just like your mobile phone. Okay, you are not going to give your mobile phone to anyone. You will keep the password and you will keep it safe. Is that right? The private variables are like your mobile phone. Protected. Protected variables are like your landline. In your home, we will have the landline phone. That landline phone can be used by anyone in the home. That is protected. If someone comes from outside, will you allow him to use your landline phone? No. You will simply reject that. This is also similar. Protected variables are accessible to the classes inherited from those classes. Okay, the parent and the children can access the protected variables. Third one is public. As I told you, this is like public telephone booth. Anyone can go and then make a call from it. Okay, anyone can go and make a call from it. Okay, so this is how the variables are organized. So whenever you are planning to create a class, the first thing you need to keep in mind is about the variables and methods. Okay, and frankly speaking, variables, coming to the variables, you should always keep the variables private. If you want to access the global variables of the class, you need to use only param methods. You should never assign in this fashion. Okay, you should never assign in this fashion. Okay, because you are directly exposing your variables. This is a bad practice. And the second one is constructor. You should never make the constructor public. The constructor should be always either protected or private. It's not the best practice. Okay, you need to make it either protected or private, and then you need to create a construct method, and then you need to call that construct method, and then you need to pass the parameters. Okay, you need to pass the parameters in this fashion. Now what will happen? My constructor is safe. Okay, my constructor is safe. No one can call that constructor. They can only use the construct method, and that is a static method. Okay, this is how we need to work with the classes. It's not only for Dynamics 365, it's for any programming language. Okay, it can be any programming language. You need to follow either param methods or either the construct method to initialize the variables. You should never use the variables out of your class directly. Okay, and remember one more case. One more case is, now you can ask me, oh, you have used the static method. When you will use the static method and when you will create the instance methods. See here, if you have a method, and that method is used across the AOT. Okay, in all the classes you want to call it. Okay, and there is no dependency of the variables of the class. You have a method which does not depend on the variables of the class, and it should be used across the AOT. Anywhere you want to call that, then you need to define it as public and static. Okay, when you will create the static method, when there is a requirement of, for example, okay, for example, to do this kind of operations, we have a class called global. If I use colon colon, you can see there are conversion functions, any to object. Okay, and base 64 str, base 64 string to container, okay, binary to crypto block. Like this, you have load of functions, conversion functions. So for these conversion functions, there is no need of using variables of that particular class. So what we will do, we are not going to make them instance methods. So if I use the instance method, what will happen? Each and every time I use that method, I need to allocate the memory and then I need to call that. Is that right? Whereas for the static methods, there is no need of allocating the memory. You can call that directly. There is a benefit. Okay, this is how we will plan whether to create a private method, whether to create a public method, whether to create a protected method. This is how we will plan. Okay, I hope you understood how to work with the variables and then how to work with the methods. If you have any questions, please let me know. In the meantime, I want to create two more methods here. Okay, I have created a method called add. Is that right? Oh no, only param method. Okay, I will create three methods. Okay, so what are arithmetic operations? We have addition, subtraction, and multiplication. Let me create those three methods. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please let me know. Public int, and inside the brackets, nothing, and I will simply return a plus b, and public int sub, and here I will say return c minus d. I am using c and d here, and public int multiplication, we have e and f as well. Okay, I will say return e star f. Okay, because everything is same, but only it depends on the best practice. That's it. Okay, and I will say now public int division. I will use, okay, div is already there, so I will use division and then int g comma int h. Okay, return g by h. Okay, so this is how I wrote four methods: addition, multiplication, subtraction, and division. So in these four methods, you can call them in any fashion. If you want to pass the variables, you can pass the values and then you can do the calculation. If you want to use the existing variables, you can use it. Okay, that's up to you. So this is how we are going to pass the parameters. This is how we are going to work with the optional parameters. You can see int a underscore a equal to a. Okay, so now this is our first class. So from this class, what we have learned? Okay, destructor will not get called automatically. If you want to call the destructor, you need to create a method, public void destruct, and then you can say this dot finalize. So what is the purpose of this? See here, this is used for calling the methods or variables of the current class. The current class is arithmetic operations. In these arithmetic operations, if you want to call the variables or if you want to call the methods, then we are going to use this inside that particular class. And please remember, this will work only with instance methods and instance variables. Okay, this will work only with instance methods and instance variables. This will not work with static variables or static methods. Okay, please remember, this is about the concept of the class and then about the object, how to construct, how to destruct, and how to write the methods. Okay, do you have any questions up to now?
Yeah, here we have used static constructor, but I think we also have one instance constructor. So what is the use of instance constructor?
What is instance constructor? I did not get your question.
Like if we don't use static,
Oh, you mean to say what is the difference between using this and this? Okay,
no,
let
if
me
we
show you.
use like public and the same class name, just without static.
That's what. If you use simply public, this will become instance method. Oh, sorry. 1 second. If you use only public without static, it will become instance method. If you use static, there is no need of allocating memory to it. Because if you see here, if I need to access this too, okay, let me do one thing. You will get the clear picture now. I am not using this, okay? I am not instantiating anything, okay? And let me run. Let me run and see what will happen. And I want to ask you one more question. Do we need exception handling here or not? Because most of the times I found developers, they will use exception handling whenever they will create a class and then they will call some methods or variables or something like that. Is it necessary to implement exception handling here? I will simply say no. If you write your class correctly, if you initialize it and then if you are using the methods and everything correctly, then there is no need of using exception handling. Let it load. Okay, now what do you think if I press F10 here?
Null exception,
Okay, let's see.
because we're not initializing it.
Exactly. You can see here we got the null reference exception. Why we got the null reference exception? By default, auth object is null. Okay, well and good. Now you understood this. Okay. Now I don't want to initialize this. And before this, I will say in the arithmetic operations, I have a method called division. I will make it static. Okay. I will save this. Okay. And then I will use AMA arithmetic operations colon. Here I got the division. And in the division, I will say G comma H. I will say 10 comma 2 and semicolon in the front int value equal to. Okay. Now again, I am adding a breakpoint here. I will run this. What do you think? What will happen once the division is run? Will it throw the same null reference exception now or not? What do you think? Let's see. what do you people think now? Will it throw the null reference exception or not? If I press F10?
No.
No?
No for now.
Okay, let's see. It went inside this method and it is returning the value. Okay, this is the difference. Whereas if I press F10 here, again it will throw the null reference. This is the difference between instance, static. Got it? Yeah, any other questions?
Kumar, why did we apply this int val
Where?
before this what do you call static method division? Yeah.
After division, it will return some value. Yeah. Where should I catch that value? To catch that value, I have used int. Now 10 by 2 is 5. This value will be assigned a value 5. Okay. Okay. So this is about the concept of instance and then static. Okay. What's the time now? Okay. We have some more time. That's good. Now, if you say, now one more thing is, you might ask me why you are using arithmetic operations colon colon, and then you are using construct instead of writing it directly. I told you that that is because of security. Okay, I want my class objects to be secured, which is why I'm using the constructor protected. Okay, and even the finalize as well, you need to make it protected. I made it public. Please remember that. Okay. Yeah, this is about the concept of a class and then how to work with the methods, how to access the variables, and how to create a new methods, and the difference between static and instance. Okay. Now let me do one thing. Okay, let's keep one static method. Why not? We can keep it. Okay, done. Now how to print these values? If you want to print that values, it's very simple. You can simply use info and then same strfmt. Here you need to use addition is, the value would be %1 comma arithmetic object dot add. Okay, now you might get it out. Can I write in a single string? Yeah, you can do that. Okay, whatever you need to do is you need to say comma sub is %2, and then you can simply say here arith object dot sub. Well, that's up to you. Whether you want to write in a single line or whether you want to write in a multiple lines, that's all up to you. Okay, here I will say info strfmt in the bracket multiplication is %1 comma arith object dot mul. Okay, and then info inside the brackets strfmt division is %1 comma. Here if you want to call this directly, you can call this, or already I have assigned a value. If you want to print the value, you can use the value. That's again up to you. Done. This is how we can print the values. Okay, so now this is about the concept of a class and the object and methods and the best practices. Okay, now if you need anything else, please let me know. I will give a minute of time. So after that, we will go to the next concept. Okay, hope there are no questions. So I will move on to the next concept, and the next concept is very interesting. Okay, we will call it as inheritance. Okay, we will call it as inheritance. Okay, and please remember, I am not going into the depth of the object orientation. I will just explain you about the concepts, and then I will show you programmatically how to work in X++. Okay, because this course is about ERP and not about the object orientation programming language. Okay, please remember that, and we will be using them most of the things directly. Okay, now see here, the second concept of object oriented programming language after encapsulation. Okay, the object, we call it as inheritance. What is inheritance? Okay, for this inheritance, the people will call it in a different way and different fashion, I can say. Okay, for inheritance, the people will call it in a different way and different fashion, I can say. Okay, because few of the people say it's the mechanism of deriving a new class from the old one. Okay, few of the people will say the process of inheriting one object from another object. Like this, they will call it in different fashions. But the standard definition is it's the mechanism, of deriving the things. Of deriving the things. It might be an object, it might be a class, it might be a table, it might be a EDT, whatever it is. If you are deriving an object from the another object, we will call it as inheritance. Okay, and in this inheritance, as I told you, if you want to work with inheritance, you need at least two objects, because one is the parent and the other one is the child. One is the super and the other one is the sub. One is the base, second one is the derived. Like this, they will use different naming conventions. What are the naming conventions? Parent, and then they will say child. What is the second one? They will say super, and then derived, and then base, and then sub. Like this, whatever the names that we use in different programming languages, they will change, but the concept is not going to change. The concept is same. Okay, so when we will use inheritance, okay, for example, what I have done, I have created arithmetic calculator. Okay, my client requirement is addition, multiplication, subtraction, and division. Very good. Immediately, in fraction of 10 or 15 minutes, we have created the arithmetic operations, and then we have satisfied the client requirement. Now the client came up with a new requirement. Okay, he clearly told, okay, you have created the arithmetic calculator, it's well and good, but unfortunately I want to perform the scientific operations. What are scientific operations? Log, exponential. Okay, these are the scientific operations. Using the arithmetic calculator, can he do that? No, it's not possible. And even in the arithmetic calculator, he got one more issue. The issue is, at any time if he wants to add, we have given only A and B. Is that right? We have given only A and B, means only two values. But he said, two values are not enough for me, yeah. I need at least four values to be added. I want four values. You have given two values. So like this, he came up with a requirement. Now what you will do to do this? Will you create one more class, one more new class, and call it as arithmetic scientific, and then will you add addition and scientific, arithmetic and scientific operations? That is one way. Frankly speaking, that is one way. Okay, because in Dynamics AX, I found this a lot. Okay, whenever people creating the reports, what they will do is, let's say they have one standard report. Okay, and while customizing, they feel it difficult. Simply, they will duplicate it and they will modify it. Okay, simply they will duplicate it, they will modify it. Now, what will happen? We have two reports which serve the same purpose. Got it? We have two reports which serve the same purpose. So if you are creating the objects like this, what will happen? If you are creating the objects in this fashion, you will end up with creating numerous duplicate objects which are of no use at all. Okay, from that, first thing, or the first one I will say, is about extended data type. You know, the people will create EDTs like anything. It will simply slow down the system. Because on the standard, already ERP is bulky. On the TRP, again, we are trying to add lot of new things. What will happen? While compilation, while running, it should load lot of things. Okay, already we have a donkey which is taking 100 kgs. Okay, which is taking 100 kgs. Now what we are doing, on top of that 100 kgs, we are adding again 50 kgs. What will happen? Donkey will die. The same thing happens with the ERPs. The same thing is happening with the ERP systems. While customizing the ERP, when you're on the client location and when you're customizing the ERP, the first thing you need to think is about the standard. Okay, The customer will have hundreds of requirements. You need to fit them to the standard. Which is why for fit gap analysis, if you go to the Microsoft, only for the fit gap analysis, they will take at least 1 to 2 months. 1 to 2 months only for fit gap analysis. There is only one reason beyond that. The one reason is they will check how to fit the client requirements to standard Dynamics AX instead of customizing a lot of code. Okay, but 90% or 99% of the companies, or 99% times, the resources, whoever I can say the leads or architects, will not think about this. So obviously what will happen? The application will become slow and the people will say Dynamics AX is slow. Okay, I saw this a lot of times. Okay, I used to get a lot of performance issues each and every time when the customer says the application is slow. Okay, more than 90% of the times I saw only one thing: the misuse of Dynamics AX. Okay, so you need to remember all these things here. When you are customizing the code, the first thing you need to remember is you should check whether standard meets it or not. If the standard does not meet, then only go with customization. Otherwise, don't customize. Okay, please remember. Okay, now coming to the requirement back again. Now in this case, don't create a new class for arithmetic and scientific operations. So what we need to do? We need to use the concept called inheritance, and we need to create one child class. That child class is for scientific operations, and in the child class or the derived class or the subclass, we need to overload the arithmetic calculator with 2 more additional values. Got it? We need to overload arithmetic calculator with 2 more additional values. Okay, and for scientific operations, you need to create new methods. Now tomorrow we will see how to work with overloading and overriding in Dynamics 365. Okay, overloading and overriding in Dynamics 365, because we have a concept called method overloading and method overriding. Let's see them. Okay, let's see them. Already you have seen with the new, with the constructor. We will see that with the scientific operations as well. Yep. Yeah, now it's your time. Please let me know if you have any questions. You lost the connection. When did it lost?
Just a minute in between.
Oh, I don't know then why it has lost. Okay. Yeah, you can check in the video whether it lost or not. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, if there are no questions, I will end session for everyone.
I have a doubt on debugging. When we should use F10 or F11?
See here. Now let's say I have the division method here. Okay. I am calling this function. If I use F10, it indicates go to next step. Next step means it will go to this line. Okay. If I use F11, it indicates go inside the function. If you want to go inside this division and you want to debug, you need to use F11. Okay. If you want to skip executing this function, and then skip in the sense, if you want to execute it at the back end and then continue to the next step, then you need to use F10. Okay. You will have two things, step into step. Step into means it will go inside this division. Step means it will directly come here. Okay, without going inside the function. That's the difference. Next. Okay, if there are no queries, I will end session for everyone. Thanks all for the session. Let's meet again tomorrow same time. Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you.